Howdy guys, I'm back after a little bit of a break. I know I was gone for a little bit longer than normal, but don't worry, I'm back with Miss Dolores. Hopefully she'll stay for an extended period of time for this video. And speaking of this video, this is something that I've seen in my comment section a lot, and I've seen a couple people request it on my Instagram, and I'm finally getting around to it, which is which one, gender, person, I guess, did I like better? Which one was easier to live as, etc. Man or woman? Which one was better? And I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I was putting this video off, I was procrastinating a lot because I was trying to think of what I was actually gonna say in the video, and just for the life of me, oh god, she's leaving me. Oh my, can you behave for 2 seconds, please? Yeah, I'm not starting this video over, I don't care. So yeah, I was procrastinating. I didn't know what really to say for an extended period of time. And I'll explain why. But it's a little bit more of a loaded question than you would probably think. Which one did I like better? Because it's not a matter of, oh, one was easier than the other. Because it really, oh, gosh dang it. Hold on, you guys. Gotta get situated here, apparently. Okay. Please don't eat my hair this time. Oh, it's cute. But, yeah, so, which one did I like better? Being a guy or being a girl? Or which one was easier? Let's start off with being a guy. Let's start off with men. How I lived as a trans man. And oh, for everybody who is new to my channel, who hasn't seen my videos yet, I am a female to male to female detransitioner, which means I was born female, but then I transitioned to be a trans man, and then later on figured out that I wasn't actually trans, and then I detransitioned, and now I'm back to being biologically female. Maybe we'll get her falling asleep on camera this time. But yeah, so while I was living as a trans man, I lived as a trans man for like a year and a half, and passed for at least a year, I want to say, like consistently passed. And I had a lot of friends, and I interacted with a lot of people who didn't know that I was trans. And so for a majority of the time that I was transgender, a lot of people kind of just treated me like I was cis, at least to the best of my knowledge. And while I was trans, I did enjoy being a man for different reasons, and I have posted a separate video. You can probably learn more about that if you want to on my detransition timeline video, because I do a voiceover and I kind of explain my thoughts on my whole detransition thing. But I wouldn't say that living as a man was easier or harder than living as a woman. And I know a lot of people are going to really disagree with me on this. And keep in mind, while I'm talking about the differences here, I'm talking about social differences. I'm not talking about whether or not men get paid more than women. I'm not talking about struggles in the job, workforce. I'm talking about like socially with like friends and family and just random people you meet, just interactions, just in general, which one was easier, who had it better, and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going into the job, system aspects of it. I'm not touching that in this video. But to clarify more on why I think it isn't necessarily harder or easier, is because when I was a man, it was different. Let me say that. It was definitely different, but I wouldn't classify it as easier. And I know a lot of people, like I said, will disagree with me and like, no, men have it so much easier, blah, 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 blah. It's not necessarily easier. It's just different. Like men, for example, what I noticed when I was living as a man is that men, an advantage, like there's pros and cons, like an advantage that I noticed when I was living as a man was that I didn't have to wake up necessarily and do my makeup every day. And not every woman does either, but a vast majority of people do. I didn't feel pressured to make myself look as good as I do when I'm a woman. You get up every day, you want to make sure your hair is nice, you want to put on some makeup, look decent. And I know a lot of people, women, can't even go out of the house without putting on some makeup. And that's not everybody. That's just some people. And it's a couple of my friends too. And some people just don't give a shit. They don't wear makeup at all. But as a man, I never had to deal with that. It just wasn't. It wasn't an issue. It wasn't a deal. I literally just woke up, threw some clothes on, and walked out the door. And it was the easiest thing of my life. I loved that about about living as a man. And that's one of the advantages. I mean, I would say with men, I don't even know if it's called like a bro code or whatever, but when I worked in retail, right? And so I would interact with a lot of people who didn't know me. And a lot of men in particular, when they interacted with me while I was a man, I would sometimes be everybody's, like, their brother, right? Or, like, I would say, I remember one time I had an issue with a lady in line, and, she was giving me some trouble, and this guy I don't even think he really knew what was going on, but he kind of took my side immediately instead of hers, and that's something that I noticed, I mean, not necessarily that men tend to stick together or whatever, but, along those lines. I did feel like I got taken a little bit more seriously, but not enough to really make a difference. And I probably shouldn't even put that in the video because it's not a drastic, like, oh, this is a huge thing. But I did notice that a lot of times when customers would walk up to me or to my coworkers, to some of my female coworkers, and ask them, say, where a product was, or if we had something, and they said that we didn't have it. I did notice, if I overheard, sometimes people would walk over and they would just double check with me or with another one of my guy coworkers. I can't for sure say if that's related to gender, like maybe the lady just didn't know what she was talking about. But that's just something that I noticed. So that's some of the differences, some of the advantages of being a guy. There's not as much pressure to look good. But on the other hand, some of the cons of being a guy are, at least I felt, that you're more pressured to have your shit together, to know what you're doing, to have a job, to not be considered a mooch, off your family if you're still living with your family. I mean, and that was, I guess, the general gist was kind of just looked down upon almost. I mean, if you weren't necessarily doing too well, or if you were still working in fast food, I mean, if you didn't, I felt more pressure to really have my shit together and really step into management in my position since I was working in retail. Let's see. So yeah, there was that. There was a lot more pressure. I feel like when you're a guy, you're also a lot more pressured to not be as emotional, to not. And again, this isn't universal. I'm just speaking from my experiences. I know that not everybody is the same. Not everybody expects men or women to act a certain way. This is just the general gist of my personal experiences. All right, just disclaimer. But I did feel more pressure, not necessarily from any person in particular, just from kind of like societal standards to be tougher almost, to do a lot of the heavy lifting, to, just in general be stereotypically manly, and that was something that I also felt, which kind of negatively impacted me sometimes, because I would catch myself as a trans man sometimes, like, like you'd see an emotional scene in the movies and you'd be like, oh my god, it's gripping my heartstrings. But then as a man, it's like, shit, don't cry, you're a dude, don't cry, fuck. And so I would kind of catch myself doing that sometimes. Whereas as a woman, I mean, I kind of still did the same thing, but that's a lot of just due to my personality. I don't really get very emotional. But I feel like women generally aren't, it's not looked upon as strange or like, oh my god, like if a lady is crying or whatnot. Whereas if you see a grown-ass man crying, somewhere, even if you don't know him, I mean, it's kind of like, oh shit, And that might not be, a universal rule or anything, but that's kind of, at least kind of how I felt. And so that's the pros and cons for men, I feel. You know, you're expected to be tougher, have your shit together, but another thing is you're not really expected as much to look good or, you know. Oh, also, as a man, if you were to get laid every night of the week, you know, go on Tinder, swipe left, you know, get dates after dates, you know, it was a good thing. It was like, damn, like you're getting some, you know? I mean, it wasn't a bad thing, you know? I mean, you were considered almost like popular, at least with what I noticed. Whereas with women, if a woman is typically seen as swiping left on going on Tinder and, you know, hooking up with people every single night, you know, just for example, they're considered kind of a slut and a whore. Um, so that's also a lovely little difference I noticed. That is a massive inequality that I think personally. I think, you know, women, if you want to go out and you want to have fun every single night, why the fuck not? That doesn't make you a whore. That doesn't make you a slut. It means you're human and you're having fun, and good on you, you know? You're young, or not, or whatever age you are, you know? It irritated me. Something that I noticed was a massive difference. But yes, that was men. Women, on the other hand, is kind of what I noticed. I felt was kind of almost like the exact opposite, you know. And again, I wouldn't say living as a woman was necessarily harder or easier. You know, it's kind of just like take your pick, right? So as a woman, I felt, and as a woman, I guess I should say now, I do feel and did feel before I transitioned more pressured to look good, you know, to get up every day and make myself presentable, decent, you know, do my makeup, do my hair, you know, spend a lot more money on makeup and clothes. At least that's what I do, or I feel the general population. Shit, makeup's expensive, man. It's like $10 for a bottle of foundation that'll last me, what, like a month? I mean, and that's not to mention everything else. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot more focused on presentability and how you look, and not even necessarily from other men, too. A lot of it's from other women, I feel. Like, you'll be, you know, just going to work, and if you look kind of like shit, you know, sometimes maybe some of your coworkers be like, shit, what happened to you? You look like shit, you know? Or just other people, you know, kind of putting other women down, I feel, because, you know, if they don't meet the standard or the stereotypical, you know, oh, you look good, right? Which is just something that I noticed. So yeah, more pressure to look good, you know, and not sleep around, you know, be more of a good, not a good girl, but like, you know, not be whorish in general. I feel like that's like a general standard, even though I think that makes no sense whatsoever. But on the other hand, I feel like there's a little bit less focus on doing more of the masculine things, like a lot of heavy lifting. You know, you're allowed to get emotional at things, you're allowed to cry, and I mean, I think it's just the general, not expectation, but it's more expected almost for, you know, it's like, oh, she's a chick, or she's PMSing, or she's just emotional right now, you know, they just kind of wave it off. I feel like as a woman, you know, it's not necessarily, you're not necessarily as expected. With me, I should clarify, I felt that I wasn't as expected as a woman to have my shit together than I was as a guy. Like, I worked at retail when I was a cashier, you know, just telling people what I did, you know, I'm a cashier at blah, blah, blah retail, and then they would kind of be like, oh, okay, if I was a chick, but I just kind of felt like the general gist of when I was a man. When I said, oh yeah, I'm a cashier, they're like, you're still a cashier, like, what are you going to school for? Come on, like, what are you doing? Like, you got to get your shit together. Like, what can you bring to the table, especially in relationships? And I only briefly dabbled in relationships when I was a trans man. I don't really do it now because I do now identify as asexual aromantic. But I did kind of explore a little bit before I had kind of figured all that out. And when I was a guy, I mean, I felt a lot of pressure, like, oh, well, I'm going to ask them out, I'll take them, you know, to dinner. Like, what can I do to make this worthwhile for them? You know, that was what how can I get them to like me? Whereas now that I'm back socially appearing as a woman, it's not all like that. I mean, it's a little bit different. It's more like, oh, I like him, I'm gonna get dressed up, I'm gonna get flirty. It's just a lot less pressure for me to make sure that I am bringing value to the table. Not that I'm not, but I feel like socially, it's just, I feel like women aren't as pressured to kind of do that. And like I said, I know a lot of people won't agree with me. I'm not saying that my word is law. This is just what I felt like experienced on both sides of the fence. But yeah, that was kind of just a short little, video about, the differences, I guess I'd say. And there are differences, but again, I want to reiterate that I don't think one was necessarily better than the other, because there are pros. I feel like there are pretty equal pros and cons on both sides. It's kind of just like take your pick on what you would rather have. Be more manly, but more expected to have your shit together, or not, but you gotta fucking look good, right? and that's not the whole thing. There's probably an hour-long video I could make on this, really going into detail. But yeah, so I wouldn't say that men have it easier or women have it easier. I mean, and this is just socially, right? I'm not gonna touch on job stuff or in the system, or this is just like socially, friend group, family, friends, stuff like that. So yeah, I actually managed to have Dolores stay for the entire video, which is a rarity, but she's tired. She's snuggling right now. But yeah, so that was it. That was my little touch up. And to touch on a lot of people who commented on my Instagram, because I did post a picture, because I hadn't been on social media at all for like a week. I kind of just disappeared. I'm sorry about that. I haven't posted in a bit. I got a lot going on right now. I actually officially put in my 2-week notice at work because I am going to try. I'm going to try my damnedest to make YouTube a full-time thing, because I really had to weigh my pros and cons with everything. I'm making about equal money between my full-time job and YouTube right now, so it's not necessarily a huge pay cut to quit. And now that I've kind of gained a bit more subscribers, yeah, and I'm getting a little bit more views on my videos, and I'm wanting, especially in the future, once I get all my computer stuff set up, I'm going to be editing my videos more, and it's kind of becoming more and more of a full-time job. The whole YouTube thing, it takes a lot of time, and it's kind of it's taken away from my other job too, doing both, because I'm finding myself kind of cutting time in between my full-time job to do YouTube stuff, and that's taking away from them, and that's not really fair to my other coworkers if I'm distracted at work anyways. But yeah, so I'm quitting my full-time job. I might crash and burn, who knows? But you know what, at least I put my 100% effort into making it work, and so if it doesn't work, at least I know I tried. All right, so that's what I'm doing now. I might be getting Dolores a friend. Sneak peek on that. I'll be making a video about that, because the potential friend or friends are like an hour and a half away from me, so I'd have to go and actually get them, and it'll be like a whole series. So that's coming up. I'm still freaking waiting on some of the computer parts. I don't know why it's taking so freaking long, the whole COVID thing, good God. So I'm still waiting on that. Those videos are, oh gosh, sorry, still coming. I'm still doing them. I'm just slowly running out of patience. So yes, that's happening. I'm trying to think of what else little update to do for you guys. I got hopefully a couple new collabs on the way with other people, which hopefully will be really awesome. I'm looking forward to those. So yeah, just a lot of stuff, a lot of new stuff. It's been really busy and really crazy because I'm making a whole bunch of big decisions in like the last couple of days, and so I kind of put off making a video for you guys. But hopefully from now on we will be back to our regularly scheduled, probably a video every 2 or 3 days a week programming. And And yeah, so yeah, that was it. That was my little update. Once again, please comment down below if you guys have ideas for videos, because I desperately do not want to run out of things to talk about or things to give you guys in the meantime, before I get all my other stuff going. So yeah, or anything that you guys want to see, anything that you guys want me to talk about, like just let me know. I would love to have ideas. Um, you know, with guest starring Dolores and hopefully every one of them. I so hope that I make Dolores' new friend work, because I'll tell you, it is two of them, and they are so freaking cute. Oh my god. But there's some catches too. But anyways, I can't give away too many spoilers. I'm really hoping that I can make that one work. And I'm rambling now. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys want to see in the future, and I will see you guys in the next one. So, see ya.